We're heading out to the Wild West to a town whose name has become legend, Tombstone, Arizona. The town too tough to die. This is the birthplace of gunfights, of Doc Holliday, of Wyatt Earp, and the battle at the OK Corral. But today, we're not talking about the OK Corral. We're going to a place that in 1882 the New York Times called the roughest, bawdiest, and most wicked night spot between Basin Street and the Barbary Coast. A place where after 8 years of operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the walls bear the scars of 140 bullet holes and 26 souls met their end. Welcome to the Birdcage Theater. This was never just a theater. It was a saloon, a casino, a brothel, and the site of the longest poker game in history. And today it's one of the most heavily haunted locations in America. The gunslingers, the gamblers, the painted ladies, they're ghosts. They are all still here. Before we push through those legendary saloon doors, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it? Because who knows? The haunted house in our next episode might be right next door. Our story begins on Christmas Eve, 1881. The silver boom was at its peak. Tombstone was exploding, filled with miners who had struck it rich and were looking for a place to spend their fortunes. Lottie and William Hutchinson opened the Birdcage Theater with a noble idea to bring family shows and ladies' nights to the respectable class. But they quickly learned a hard truth: Tombstone wasn't San Francisco. The polite families didn't come. Instead, the rough miners, the dusty cowboys, and the outlaws flooded in. They didn't want family theater. They wanted whiskey gambling and other forms of entertainment. The owners adapted quickly. They turned the Birdcage into a 24/7 operation. The stage still had shows from magicians to strength acts like Mademoiselle de Granville, the female Hercules with the iron jaw, to risque performers like the Human Fly, women in tights who walked upside down on the ceiling. But the main event wasn't on the stage. The name Birdcage came from the 14 private balcony boxes suspended from the ceiling that looked just like bird cages. This is where the painted ladies of the theater would entertain their clients. A reporter at the time described them as cats, luring in the canaries, the customers. And in the basement, another world, a casino home to the longest poker game in history. The game started in 1881 and did not stop until 1889. A single poker game that lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. It ran 24 hours a day. The minimum buy-in was $1,000. It's estimated that over $10 million changed hands at this table, with the house keeping 10%. Legends like Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson, and Wyatt Earp all played here. This game created extreme wealth, and it also created uncontrolled violence. 26 people lost their lives inside these walls. 140 bullet holes still riddle the walls, the ceiling, and even the painting of the dancer Fatima behind the bar. The passings came from gunfights, stabbings, and self-inflicted ends. As one performer, Annie Ashley, recounted in 1882, earning money was exciting to say the least. Every night the feuding parties would come to the theater, sometimes meet each other and shoot it out then and there. They would sit on opposite sides of the balcony and watch each other. The atmosphere changed as fast as the weather. When the silver mines flooded and ran dry in the late 1880s, Tombstone's wealth vanished. The Birdcage Theater was forced to close its doors in 1892. And then something miraculous happened. The building was shut and sealed. It wasn't turned into a shop or an office, it was forgotten. It wasn't until 1934 that the new owners opened the doors and found a perfectly preserved time capsule. Everything was still intact, as if the party had just ended yesterday, only now covered in a thick layer of dust. Today, the Birdcage Theater is a museum. But when you walk in, you're not just looking at relics. You're walking onto a crime scene, into a casino, a brothel, and one of the most haunted places in America. For decades, staff and visitors have reported phenomena that cannot be explained. They smell the thick, heavy smoke of cigars and the sharp scent of spilled whiskey, even though drinks haven't been served in generations. They hear laughter, loud arguments, the shuffling of cards, and phantom piano music coming from the empty stage. This place isn't haunted by one soul. It's haunted by the party itself, a party that never ended. But among the dozens of spirits here, some tragedies stand out. Among them is the most brutal murder at the Birdcage. The victim was a painted lady named Margarita. Margarita was the star of the Birdcage, described as tall, dark-skinned, and willowy. But her tragic end came when she was caught sitting on the lap of a gambler named Billy Milgreen. The problem was, Billy Milgreen was the regular client and live-in lover of a rival lady named Little Gertie the Gold Dollar. Gold Dollar, famous for her gutsy personality, flew into a jealous rage. She stormed into the Birdcage, grabbed Margarita by the hair, and pulled a double-edged stiletto from her garter. In her fury, she stabbed Margarita repeatedly and, legend says, carved her rival's heart from her chest. Gold Dollar fled but was later caught. However, with no weapon and no evidence, she was set free. A century later, that same stiletto was found, hidden behind the theater. Today it's on display, perhaps still carrying Gold Dollar's furious energy. And many believe Margarita's spirit is still here. Visitors have seen the ghost of a young woman wearing only a thin slip, leaning on the railing of the Birdcages, looking down at the empty floor, perhaps still searching for Billy Milgreen. Next, we have another tragic soul, Carmelita Gimenez, an entertainer at the Birdcage. In August of 1888, her boyfriend recounted that she had been crying uncontrollably after work. When he asked why, she just said, "It's not about you." The next day, he found her violently ill. She had taken her own life by swallowing 2 teaspoons of arsenic, a rat poison called Rough on Rats. The theater closed for one night in her memory. But the spirit of Carmelita, trapped by her despair, is said to still wander the theater that witnessed her final agonizing hours. And not all the passings were from jealousy or despair. Some were work-related accidents. One of the most daring acts was the human fly, where female performers in tights used special clamps to walk upside down on the ceiling. One night, a clamp slipped. The performer fell to the stage and passed instantly in front of the audience. And then there is a spirit that no one can explain, the woman in white. In a notorious brothel like the Birdcage, the appearance of a proper lady is incredibly strange. Staff report seeing her in a white dress and a pristine white bonnet, an outfit of the upper class. She often walks down the main staircase, enters the poker room, and just stands there, completely unresponsive to the living, as if she doesn't even see them. People believe this is a residual haunting, a memory loop playing over and over. No one knows who she is or why she's here. But there is one chilling theory. Next to the stage is the original Tombstone hearse, the Black Mariah. This hearse carried countless bodies to Boot Hill. The theory is that the woman in white may have followed the hearse here and then got trapped. And if the human spirits weren't enough, the objects here have a life of their own. When the owners placed a wax figure of Wyatt Earp in one of the Birdcages, strange things started happening. Every morning, staff would find the figure's hat on the floor below. One day, they found the entire statue turned around to face the wall. They investigated and discovered that back in the day, that specific Birdcage was the private box of the Clanton clan, Wyatt Earp's mortal enemies. When they moved the Wyatt Earp statue to a different cage, one he actually used to frequent the strange activity. stopped immediately. Or the story of an antique poker chip. This chip would frequently appear and disappear. The owner, Bill Hunley, decided to lock it in a bank vault for safety. But when a group of antique experts came to authenticate it, Hunley opened the vault, and the chip was gone. Only after the experts left did the chip reappear on its own in a desk drawer. Even paranormal investigators aren't safe. In the 1980s, the owner, William Hunley, held a séance here. In the middle of the session, an angry spirit began to choke Mr. Hunley right in front of the attendees. The assault only stopped when the chaos broke the medium's concentration. Mr. Hunley's neck was bruised for 6 weeks. Today, the Birdcage Theater still stands almost perfectly preserved. The 140 bullet holes are still in the walls. The painting of Fatima with a bullet hole in it still hangs behind the bar, and the poker table still sits in the basement. It's open for tours day and night, and the reports continue. The laughter, the piano music, the clinking glasses. The ghosts of the painted ladies are still dancing, and the gunslingers are still staring at their cards. The party at the Birdcage Theater didn't stop in 1892. It just stopped welcoming the living. Thank you for joining me in one of the wildest places in the West. What do you think of the spirits of the Birdcage? Are they enjoying their eternal party? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I will see you in the next case file.